Welcome to the Lindemann Outdoors Podcast. Your host today is me, Jeremy Lindemann. Riding solo today as old Buckshot Lindemann, as we call him now, is Jacob, is sitting out due to an appendix surgery. Reason he's called Buckshot now is he's got 3 holes in his stomach, a lot like the old shot shells of yesteryear that used to contain 3 shotgun pellets in the old Buckshot. But that is now illegal in Minnesota. Why is it illegal? Well, among other things that work really, really well, they are too effective, and therefore we can't have them for our deer season because people would kill too many deer. And Minnesota doesn't like that. They like to sell licenses, but they certainly don't want you shooting any deer. No, I shouldn't say that. I joke. Anyway, welcome to this episode of Lindemann Outdoors. Today we are talking about food plots. Food plots and more food plots. We're going to do a little series here about food plots and talk about why they're important, how they help you kill deer, and just why we should have them. So, on with the show. So it is the middle of July. Normally I start my food plot work about June. I first started doing food plots probably about, about 10 years ago. And the reason I started doing food plots is I wanted to improve my deer hunting, see more deer, take care of the deer, help grow the deer herd around me. Just intrigued at how it could make my hunting better. And I'm here to tell you that if you live up in northern Minnesota and you don't have a food plot to hunt over, especially in the rifle season, you may sit there and you're not going to see a lot of deer. A deer is certainly a slave to his stomach, and he will go places where he can fill that need. And then also the does that time of year, they're the same way. They're looking for food. The bucks are looking for them. You have a food plot, you're in the money. Anyway, let's talk about the different types of food plots. Like I talked about here a little bit, you got the destination food plots, the large ones. That's where your deer, they're going to bed in one location and they're going to head out to that as their main source to feed all night long. You have little holding plots that I call them, where the deer can, what they can do is they can go there, they can hang around on this little food plot, maybe hit it on the way out to that large egg source. A lot of times a buck he'll hang back in the woods, wait for it to get dark before he heads out. They certainly know how to use that cover darkness to their advantage. So you have your holding plots, your destination food plots, and then you have your smaller food plots, like what I like to call them is a kill plot. And basically what this plot is, a lot of times they're in the middle of a woods, or on the edge of a woods. It's just a little, it's a little staging plot where the deer can come out, they can take a little nibble. A lot of times they feel safe coming in and out of there all day long. They can just come there, they can hang around, wait for it to get dark, and then they head on out. So it seems to be that these food plots are also very effective. A lot of big bucks are killed on these smaller staging food plots or these kill plots, and they become just a vital role in deer hunting. Now, once again, we are purely talking from our own experiences and our people we know's experience, our friends, family, acquaintances that we meet. Obviously, anytime I get around somebody that I can talk deer hunting with, we're doing it. So, let's dive into this. You might ask yourself, well, how do I get a food plot? What do I do? I don't have the equipment. I have no idea where to start. Well, you're in luck. I didn't either when I first started. In fact, my first land that I had my food plots on, we only owned 10 acres. So we only had about, maybe a half acre to an acre food plot total. Most likely it was a half acre. I never measured it. I just, it was probably, 60 yards long and 30 yards wide. A little spot that had some tall grass in it, and it was right on the edge of a slough, right behind our house. We'd actually built a little enclosed deer stand back there, and then we went to work on this food plot. And, it took some time, but what we did is we mowed off the grass, and I mean literally, I took my riding lawnmower back there, lifted the deck all the way up, and then I had my weed eater as well, and chopped down the grass. Obviously, you want to do this right away in the spring before the grass gets, waist high, or as my grandpa Harold would say, ass high to a tall Indian. We probably can't say that these days, but it was a different time back then. So you want to get that grass cut short. If there was brush in there, I had to mow out the brush. I probably wrecked our lawnmower in the process, but there's ways of doing this. You can buy little weed eaters that you can put a saw blade on and to cut that brush. And then you buy some Roundup, some glyphosate as it's also called, some 2,4-D, and you spray that food plot out. The 2,4-D will kill your brush and your broadleaf stuff, so you gotta be careful with that. And then also the Roundup will kill all your grass and other weeds. So you get that food plot sprayed out. And at this time, we didn't have any large equipment. Now, you don't have to have equipment to plant a food plot. You can use rye grain. There's several companies that make what they call a no plow or a throw and go food plot seed. And you can simply time it right of when there's going to be a good rain. You have to look at the bag of when you should plant this stuff. Some stuff you plant in August, some you plant in June. I usually plant my turnips and radishes and brassicas towards the end of June. If I'm planting sugar beets, which deer love, I try to plant them at the end of May. So, this particular food plot, we were actually planted frigid forage in there, which is a mix of brassicas, turnips, radishes, and I think there were some winter greens in there too. And we didn't have anything to dig the dirt up with. At that time, we just didn't have any equipment. We, sprayed for weeds. We waited till it was going to rain. We spread the seed out. We drove over it with our four-wheeler, actually, to help pack it down. And we let the rain do the rest of the work. Push the seed in the ground, and it germinated into a nice food plot. We shot a lot of deer off of that plot over the years. Simple little food plot. The next year we would plant oats, and we would rotate, our crops around between turnips and oats and, different mixes. Honestly, I had some of the best luck with the frigid forage back there, and also with just, the winter oats. Little food plot, hardly, less than $200 to put in. Super simple, and the deer loved it. We had deer, coming off of larger properties, coming onto our property to feed, and we were able to harvest some of those deer. We, harvested several bucks, several does over the years. And plus we could just go right behind the house and hunt with the kids. And it was super simple and effective. And it also led to more enjoyment because we got to watch deer. We got to see different deer come in. We ran a trail camera out there, so we'd get pictures of bucks. Most of them came at night, but every once in a while, one would slip up and come in during the daytime. So that was great. So a lot of these little food plots, like we talk about, you'll hear them called poor man plots, or little kill plots, honey hole plots. Um, one I'm working on right now, and the property I own now, I found a spot where I had 7 or 8 large oak trees, and they're spread out about 20 to 30 yards apart. So I was able to go in there with the brush mower and mow all around these trees and cut out a few, trees I didn't want in there, some popple trees and some ash trees, and get them out of the way to allow some more sunlight in there so those oak trees could really flourish. And it seems to be working. The trees look great. They're leafy. They're going to have lots of acorns. And plus, this is a nice little hidey hole kill plot. And it seems like those bigger bucks, they feel safe on these little tiny food plots. They'll step out from their bedding and they'll come have a nibble. They're hidden away. They don't feel pressure on them. And plus, it helps you, make that tree stand a little better location for hunting by having that food plot there. And like I said before, these little food plots, you don't have to have a bunch of equipment. You don't have to have a bunch of land. You could technically go out there with a weed eater and a rake and a backpack sprayer, and you could have a nice food plot to hunt over. It makes all the difference in the world. These deer will hit these food plots. A lot of times it's the only green source of food around. There's, like with the turnips and stuff, they actually don't really hit those until after the first frost. And then, they'll actually dig through the snow to get these turnips, so it helps them get them through the winter as well. And a lot of your stuff carries over to the spring, so they, once the snow goes away, they have a little bit of forage to also help them get through the spring. I mean, it just helps your deer herd so much. And also, it's enjoyable. It's a good way to get out during the off season, get some physical exercise, helps you get ready for hunting. And a lot of times it's the work you put in now that helps hunting be better in the fall. So, pretty easy to get out there and put a food plot in. A person shouldn't be intimidated by thinking, you don't have enough money or you don't have enough time. That's really not the case. Very effective, like I said a couple times here. Minnesota is a no bait state, so it's illegal to bait. So you need some attractant for those deer. Especially during the fall when crops are coming off, now you have a nice food source that those deer can key in on, and they're going to hang out on your property, and you got does, you got bucks, whatever you're looking for is going to be hanging around because you got some food for them. And then, like I said, too, you're providing a year-round food source for those deer that help them get through the winter, and also it benefits other animals. Our property, we have turkeys, we have grouse, we have bear, which are being a little bit of a nuisance right now. Bear season starts in a month. I can't wait. We're going to get rid of a couple of those. We have lots of deer, all kinds of birds, rabbits, just about every critter you can think of. Just kind of a wild kingdom ecosystem here. So it just, and that all comes from the hard work of food plots. So don't, if you're considering doing a food plot, just get out there and do it. And that's what we've been up to here too. Fishing season is still going on, but you have to take a few weekends out to put your food plots in June and July and August even, and it really helps, like I said, about 14 times here with reaping those benefits in the fall. You truly reap what you sow. No pun intended, but let's talk a little bit here about what I've been up to with our food plots here. We've been super wet up here. Last year we planted corn on a lot of our food plots. Now, when it comes to food plots, if you can get a bunch of corn in, and you got a standing cornfield in, let's say, a late muzzleloader season in December, and it's cold outside, you are going to have deer. You're going to have a ton of deer. And also, it's a good time to kill a trophy buck because he's going to be keying in on that food source after the rut. That being said, we had corn last year, so on our crop rotation, we're planting mostly beans this year. We have trouble with the beans because the deer like them a little too much, and they eat them down to the ground. So if you have an acre food plot or less, you're going to have to put an electric fence up, otherwise those beans are going to be gone. So that is our next mission here, is we're going to be fencing off some of the beans we planted early this spring, which are growing great right now. It's been extremely wet, but our soybeans are doing well. We put the Roundup Ready ones in, so you can go ahead and spray those and keep all your weeds out, and it just helps that plant grow more beans and get taller and bushier, and it's not competing for for nutrients with those weeds. So we got all of our beans planted. They're coming along nicely. I did plant some sugar beets earlier. I had great success with those last year. The deer literally dug through the snow and into the dirt and just demolished every single sugar beet and leaf and everything. They went crazy for them. I had no idea actually that they went that nuts for I know they like sugar beets, but I had no idea that they would turn a plot into dirt to get them all out. So of course this year I wanted to plant more. And I think it was a little too wet because the sugar beets were just not coming up. So I had to reseed those this weekend here. It is the middle of July. Still not too late to plant sugar beets. Their beets will be, about the size of a tennis ball, maybe a little bigger. That's why you'd like to plant those at the last part of May, because then they just get a great big sugar beet on there. And same thing, as soon as you get the first frost, that all turns to sugar, and the deer are in there like crazy, eating those up. So that works really well. So that a lot of the areas that I've had to reseed. Another thing we like to plant, that I mentioned before, is the turnips, the brassica, and the radishes. We do a mix. I buy all those seeds in bulk. I mix them together, put them in I just use an Earthway spin spreader. You just walk and you turn the crank and it fans them out. Does a nice job. I'm no expert by any means when it comes to food plots. I'm still learning. I've definitely gotten better. You got to be careful when you're planting those turnips and stuff and the sugar beets that you don't overseed them. It's better to put them on light and have to go back and fill in a little than it is to put them on too heavy, because they get choked out and they just don't grow. You want those to grow nice big bulbs and big beets, and that's what the deer. That's the food for the deer. Plus, it'll grow a nice tall leafy green as well. The deer will come and mow down as soon as you get the first frost. But that being said, I do have some areas that were too wet that I'm hoping will dry out here. I like to plant oats at the end of August. I had a buddy tell me plant them around the 20th of August, because then the oats gets about 10 inches high by bow season, and it's lush and it's green, and the deer love it, and you got a nice spot to bow hunt over. There's mixed reports. Some people say that if you plant it too soon and it heads out, they don't like it. I've seen them eat both. So I don't think you can go wrong planting in August. I would plant the winter oats. That's just a variety that's a little more frost tolerant and seems to have a higher sugar content, and the deer sure like it. So I'm hoping to be able to get that into a few food plots that I have that are just a little too wet right now, because it's been raining like crazy here. We've been in a drought the past couple years, so it's nice to have the rain now, but it's been a little too much. So if it could back off for a little bit, I could get a couple more plots mowed out and worked up. I think we're going to be in good shape for deer season. So yeah, it's exciting. It's it's one of those things that you can do as little or as much as you want, regardless of the resources you have. And I was able to pick up a little tractor and a tiller, and I've just been picking up little pieces of equipment off of Facebook Marketplace and auction sales, and certainly made it a lot easier to put the acres in quicker than out there with a handheld weed whacker and a backpack sprayer and raking in my seed out there. But that does work. It's very effective. We had another little food plot that was across the road from a place where we used to live, and we just another little 10-acre woods, and connected to a larger 100-acre piece of woods. And in that little 10 acres, the deer would come through there before they'd head out to the larger ag field. And we just went in there with same thing, weed whackers, handheld sickles, carved out a little food plot in there, and that thing wasn't 20 yards long and 20 yards wide, but we planted clover in there. We'd sprinkle some oats in there from time to time, spray it out, plant oats every couple of years just to kind of help offset the clover, to keep that nice and thick. And those deer, they would come through there, they would stop and get a little nibble, stage there a little bit, and then on their way out, they would head out to the field. And I can't even keep track of how many deer we shot out of there. I would say close to 20. A couple big bucks, a couple small bucks, lots and lots of does. A freezer filler for sure. So just a tiny little food plot, a ladder stand, a backpack sprayer, a weed whacker, and a little seed spreader. And nothing but success from that. So, that was super cool. So, yeah, it's food plots they're kind of neat. It's fun. I actually enjoy being out there planting the food plots. It helps me extend my deer season to year round. I almost enjoy the food plots as much or as more as deer hunting now. It's just a lot of fun to see your hard work come to fruition and have somebody be successful. Usually it's Jacob, shooting a deer that I didn't want him to shoot, that I would like to see grow another year. But at the same time, it's super fun to have him come home and shoot one. And every once in a while, there's a big buck hanging around that piques my interest as well, too. And, it's just part of living that outdoor lifestyle. And like we've said before here a ton of times, we're here to help you have fun in the outdoors, fill your tags, and fill your freezer. So that's what we're all about. Thank you to everyone that listens to this podcast. I appreciate all of you. There's probably 5 of you out there now. Could be more, could be less. You just don't know. But we're just trying to share what we do to help you guys. And like you said before, fill that freezer. Thanks for listening to Lindemann Outdoors. Jeremy Lindemann telling you to get out there, have some fun, fill that freezer. Peace.